it up. Right. We should be going live about now. Yeah, I think we are live right now. So in that case, we'll do a little mic check as well afterwards, and we'll let anyone like explain to us if we're.
Oh, it's working! Holy smokes, you figured it out!
Is it running through you though, or is it running through me?
Yeah, it's running through me.
Oh, it must
I
be
can
running through you because
control
I don't
it.
have. Yeah.
Look what I can do. Whee!
Yeah, because I don't have OBS turned on, of course. So yeah, welcome everybody to Den Kushi. I'll change the thumbnail in a minute, but it's we're discussing chapter 1094 and the absolute 100% super duper 150% spice that we saw with it. Well, if you're not into spoilers, now's the time to leave because I'm about to yo Zagrash, yo Tachi, yo Moog, yo Miguel, yo Dill, yo 3D. Let's fucking go. I said the F word in the first like few minutes, but anyway, yeah, we'll talk about Saturn turning up in his little pentagram and stuff like that, and just what it means for the story and how stuff's going to change, particularly like in the terms of fruits and the yokai business. Yeah, and there's a little picture in the corner, I think, just from Cody. So, and Cody's probably sorting the chat as well, I'm guessing.
I'm sorting it right now. I'm like I said, I'm sorting it. We're going.
He's a
boys.
genius. He's a wizard. He's a wizard. We'll probably have people like hopping in and out. Yeah, people. You're welcome to jump in, actually, if you want. People, Zag, you're welcome to jump in 3 day. Blah blah blah. But anyway, we're just gonna literally just because we've had a couple techie difficulties, we're gonna jump straight into the business end, right? So. Is there anything anyone wants to say before we get started, or are we all, pants down, ready to go?
No break next week.
No break next week. Do we think there's going to be a break after that, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably. It's been since like May since we've had a three in a row, which is what we're meant to get.
Well, we were due 3 in a row. Whoa there, Kai. Okay. Yeah, we were due like 3 in a row.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Never mind. My bad.
I said y'all gotta chill. Trust
yeah, we
me,
were due
I'm a
3 in a
wizard.
row, but we like had it cut short. So now we've only so we had 2, then we just had the break that we just had, where that was supposed to be a chapter, and now there should be 3, technically 4. But I think you're right. I think we'll only get 2 and then a break again because they like literally are doing like 2 a month nowadays. Yep. Jesus, this guy is like.
We're figuring it out.
Have you got a driving license?
Yeah, we're figuring it out. You worry about talking. You do the talking with your sexy voice.
Okay. Cup of tea, anyone?
No.
Okay, cool.
Little bit of Tuesday.
Yeah, quite a lot of Tuesday, exactly. So, right, anyway, gentlemen, if anyone wants to start us off, feel free to shoot. What was your first impressions of seeing Saturn? I mean, I'm guessing we were all surprised, right?
What did you just? Okay, yeah. I got everything. I mean, I had like my own theories,
which, like, looking back on them, were pretty rubbish. But I mean, I was surprised for sure. I was not expecting it to be. I think we all saw the bull in 1085.
Oh.
You got to be the most self-deprecating theorist there is in this community, and your theories are absolutely up there in the top, in my opinion. So I don't think like we literally spoke about today. You thought some of your theories were wrong. Yeah, but I mean, it might not actually be disproven, which we can touch on in a bit when we get to like Saturn's powers and stuff.
We'll touch on that.
But yeah. But Dill, what about yourself? Seeing Saturn pop up?
Bro, I saw the fucking pentagram on the ground and I said, oh, and immediately went back and looked at the fucking version that we have of when Brooke was summoned to see what the fuck the similarities were. And it turns out that Brooks was just, the style of Brooks summoning like area was just 2 squares overlapping each other, and Saturn's is an actual fucking pentagram.
I like this chapter.
Yeah.
A lot because as a Bonnie fan who's been eaten So good. My God, that near-death experience panel. Let's all give a W in chat for near-death experience of my girl Bonnie.
Don't W that. Don't W that. Maybe some
W.
DGen stuff on TLA.
You cannot lie. That shit is a dub. That shit goes hard.
Thank you.
That
Oh,
as a
no.
move would
Thank you.
immediately remove somebody's will to continue
Miguel,
fighting.
Miguel,
If
no.
they immediately got touched on the head and they thought they were dead, yeah, they thought they would immediately stop
Oh my
fighting.
God, it made me want to stop fighting just
Bonnie
seeing
beat
that
that.
panel. That was a big
Tachi
W.
would definitely be vulnerable to the NDE for sure. And Cody, they'd both be dead instantly. And
I've been
Boa,
down
like.
for Bonnie since fucking Sabaody. I've been ever since I saw her eating pizza with her legs spread out. I'm done.
Every
PT.
shot she's ever been in, her legs
It's
is
so
her legs
good.
are still open. Even when she's walking, she's got to do a cartwheel.
Yes, I need it. Damn W. What else?
yeah,
did
Josh,
we
go
all
on,
like
fire
about
us up with some Saturn impressions. What was your reactions?
Josh, give us your
heard
best
from
Saturn
Josh
impression
again.
right now. Josh, I need your best Saturn impression. Hey, Josh, so when you read the One Piece chapter and Saturn was talking, well, what did Saturn sound like in your head? Man, it's like watching an episode of Dora the Explorer. It's like, hi, did you read the chapter?
I wonder what happened. Maybe he got eaten by his turtles or something. But okie dokie, yeah, that's no worries. And then we got Coob with us as well. Coob, I mean, intro yourself with the Grand Red Sea introduction, like.
So what's up, guys? Coob of the Red Sea. Well, for this chapter, I wasn't shocked. I was just happy One Piece was getting with stuff we've been talking about, especially with Dead and I've been talking where we were talking about a few months ago. Thriller Bark and Paldan are connected through Magellan's fruit. That in this arc shows that Thriller Bark was literally the blueprint of how Devil Fruits and how the Void Century happened, literally. So this one I'm very excited about this chapter, and I'm and what I like about this, and this is what I felt for it, is like French side with me, the French piece stuff, and I've been thinking a lot. We always connect, for the devils, the devil fruit, the D clan. Like we're saying that if the bad guys are the gods, whatever they call the devil, and I like that Oda might have used the real demon stuff with the yokai instead of the regular demons that we know of. So it's I'm really liking where we're going in One Piece. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Josh, if you do have any audio issues, just drop us a message and we'll try to fix it if it's a perm issue or something. But yeah, I agree with you, Cube. It's a good time. Oh, Josh is back with us.
I'm back.
Josh.
Okay, cool.
Saturn impression now.
Saturn impression.
Is that what he sounds like to you? You're lying.
No, I just surprised.
No, but like I wanted to, like Tachi mentioned in the chat about Saturn having a likeness to Black Maria, which I think like that is super interesting. We spoke about it today a bit and yesterday, and like I think someone mentioned that the Black Maria, there was a note that Black Maria, her transformations were like what's the word? Were like enabled by a medicine, like a rumble ball type thing. So it's interesting because Saturn obviously has this super similar form in terms of the spider, like bottom half of the yokai vibe, and he's obviously a science dude. So using that using that stuff, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
So actually, now that you brought up Black Mirror, and it just came to me, we know that Kaido got the numbers from Punk Hazard, and we know that I think Black Mirror is from Wano, and like she's in her 30s. Do you think her fruit actually Kaido got it in the same way as the numbers from Punk Hazard, and they might have a connection with Saturn itself? Like it's like they were trying to recreate Saturn's the powers, but they couldn't do it 100%.
Yeah, well, when we went through the yokai earlier, we found a yokai that looks just like Kaido, right? And so if a few of these yokai are connected, like maybe D members, because obviously he's an Oni and stuff like that, which is the exact same as the yokai, which is called Kaido Maru.
Also, I'd just like to jump in on that. Remember that Magellan and Hanyabull's horns have not been explained, and they are the first horned people that we see in One Piece, and everyone acts like they are just normal.
aren't real.
They're fake.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
Magellan's
fake.
horns aren't real. Just
Magellan's
Hannibal's.
Hannibal's are real, but Charlotte, one of the Charlotte children,
Well,
has
I mean,
horns.
it's just like it just seems like it's such a natural thing that like everyone treats them like they're normal people. It's not this like needed to be explained phenomena. So I'm wondering if there is like an Oni race in One Piece actually, just further in the New World.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah. I do think there would have been one back in the day, maybe.
It's also, I've been saying that it's very weird. We even got an Oda box for Pudding's tribe, even though Oda talked about it for like half a chapter. And then we know like the Third Eye tribe. With Kaido and Yamato, we never got because we know they're from a different race, and we're assuming Oni. But it could be a race like, you know, how Scarpian, Birkins, and Shadorn exist. It could be that Onis connect to another race, which is Kaido's, who they worship. You know how people worship Lunarians as gods? Maybe Kaido's race used to worship the Onis as them the gods, you know.
Oh,
so I'm starting to feel like
Lonely Mage in
I'm starting to feel
chat
like there's
with
some
Moria's horns.
Yeah. So I'm starting to think that So I'm starting to think that maybe there is this thing of, you know, the Onis are connected to other people that connects back to that is Kaido's people, because they just show that they worship the Onis to some extent, but then he never talked to himself as being an Oni, and he called his daughter the Oni princess. It could be like that's what he inspired her to be, you know, something like that. So it's like it's very interesting with Kaido. Can't be 100% sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a possibility that he might have been fucked with when he was younger. When like, well, I shouldn't say it like that, but like he was experimented on by the world government maybe when he was younger. And like we spoke earlier about Kuma and how we've been talking about a lot about how like, you know, he was a child and he didn't have the bear's ears or paws. And then when he was an adult, he didn't have the bear's ears either when he was in the flashback with like throwing little kid Bonnie up in the air when he was wearing that robe. So all of this stuff has happened to him fairly recently, whereas like, yeah, with Kaido, it might be the opposite way around. Maybe similar to like Boa or Bonnie, even like might be from very young.
For me, it's for me, you know, I've already said it, and I'll remind people. Perona, when she was sent away, she explained how she loved Thriller Bark and wanted to go to a gloomy place. Magellan, the first thing he says when we meet him, he says he wished he can live in a gloomy place. And the fact that he has those fake horns, I think that his devil fruit is at home at Thriller Bark. It's those kind of a gloomy place. And for some reason, I think Magellan's fake horn is basically what the fruit needs. You know what I mean? You know, like we have that S-Hawk is holding a sword, even though he's literally a human sword. You know what I mean? With his fruit. And we have same earrings. You know, like I feel like the fruits, they need something. Like they have their own habits. You know, their quirks, stuff they need on them. So I do feel like that's why Magellan had those fake horns, because of that, because of the fruit.
It's interesting.
We are past the 10-minute mark. No more PG. Let's talk about the most useless devil fruit. Ride that meat. What are they riding? I want to know why Bluegrass is still alive and why they have a devil fruit. And why is
Zunisha maybe some Zunisha backstory? Do you think?
Ooh. You think that, like, someone could ride Zunisha and control that? Do you think that that's a possibility in the final war arc? Could they control a weapon?
Well, the question is, Cody, that everyone wants to know is, could Bluegrass control you if she rode you?
No. She doesn't have the gym badges.
Nice. Touche.
So,
yeah, okay.
Then, I didn't tell you this, but did you know what I thought when I read that devil fruit? Too bad Lucas is not here. Immediately I thought of what you guys are talking about, gears.
No.
Literally, her fruit is the stick fruit, which is interesting because for us who live in Europe, we have more like stick shifts. Our manuals, you know, we also call them what in French? Gears. Our stick shifts, we also call them gears, which I find it very interesting that her fruit is called. It's nothing to do with stick shifting, but they call it a stick fruit, which I find very interesting. So I do feel like, you know, you guys were right on the gear piece stuff.
Do you think we'll ever get a reverse gear?
No. At this point, no.
Reverse mountain gear.
Ride fruit. They just ride everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that from one translation is the stick fruit, the other translation is the ride fruit.
That's like so TCB is ride. Yeah, we got to wait for Sunday, and then it's probably still not going to be quite right. But
Okay.
I mean, it shouldn't. Yeah.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to
and
hear what Moog
what
wants to say.
Yeah, go Moog. Sorry.
Oh, well, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, I thought you were.
Okay.
Maybe.
I was gonna say, and you know what, Cody? I want your opinion on it as well, and everyone here. Do you? I've been thinking when you guys talked about Bonnie like 5-10 minutes ago. Do you guys think that her fruit has basis origin with future sight? Because that death, making them see their death, their possible death at that moment, kind of makes how future sight on that moment, Katakuri was able to see Capon Beji's move at that one instant. You know, it's because he even said, "Why did I think of it?"
Ties to Toki's fruit than I do it having ties to future sight. If like that's
Maybe
my honest opinion, I think like those fruits have more intertwined. Like maybe somebody like if Toki were to meet Bonnie, she would say, "Oh my gosh, you remind me of someone who could use time the same way," or something like that. But I think like I don't think it's more related with future sight than it is like the Toki fruit.
Yeah, no, I'm still convinced by Shrivel that I think Bonnie has Toki's fruit. We just saw, we saw the awakened version of Toki.
I think like it definitely is something like, as I say, we were talking earlier, like something we brought up that it's a weird ability for Bonnie to have, like, and we're just moving more and more that direction, it seems. And going back to Saturn, like I do think like as we say, Saturn looks like this yokai, right? Quite distinctly. However, there is this mix of like a spider and a bull still there. So it's not going to be as simple as like a zone. You know what I mean? I think, and then we've got the white beard or like Joy Boy's hair in 1093, or Luffy as he died, and then the black sash going around him, which is like a contrast. Like why it's the first character we've ever seen with both these colors. So. I mean, what about you guys? Do you think that he's got a normal devil fruit, or do you think there's something else going on?
I mean, it's at least a mythical zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be at least
an awakened mythical
At the very least.
Awakened mythical zone because of the.
He
the
does.
clouds.
It has to be awakened. We did see the cloud around his shoulders that we've seen with all the other zones that have awakened, except for the impelled jailer beasts. But they weren't like they were lost
weird.
awakens. Yeah, they had a weird awakening.
Same with Kaido.
You guys really think Kaido was awakened? You guys got me fucked up.
Well, that's what I think we're going to be looking at.
Yeah,
because the whole thing with Devil Fruit Awakenings is that you like what Kaido said is that like you have to be in tune with your power, and the whole thing about the what's it called, the Seiryu, the Azure Dragon in mythology is that it's a dragon of peace, and Kaido's whole thing was war. The whole reason I think also that like all the ancient Zoans on his crew, like all the Toby Ropo and the All Stars, the reason they didn't awaken as well was because they are like all ancient zones, which is to do with history, and they are all about destroying Wano, which is like a land of history. So that's why they're like incongruent. Whereas Yamato has the swirls.
Nice.
Yamato, that's where I was going to lead off to. Yamato being able to protect Wano and embodying that guardian spirit deity of Wano. That's why they are more in tune with their fruit and can be awakened to it versus Kaido, who's been against Wano and holding them under his finger. And I think even Kaido going against his own nature, being submissive to Orochi for so long, maybe would have weakened his way to be working with his fruit. I worded that weirdly, but like,
so the best analogy I can give is the reason why Zoro defeated King. At the end, the will, his dream, his will, everything was just much stronger. And I think to be able to go awakening a certain level, because that's why I like what Cody and Moog is saying right now. You need to embody the themes of that fruit. And I think like the best case for Kaido, his whole thing, everything was to do that, to be defeated by Joy Boy. I think it's basically, there is something. It's a two-way street. You can go awakening if you fit the criteria. Kaido couldn't fit the criteria like the Asian Zoans. So I agree with what you guys are saying.
At the same time, we see two different hybrid forms for Kaido.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of them has the flame sash.
Yeah, the sash. Yeah, it's true. Like we do see flames in a different sense, though. We see the flames in the sense of like this, like the dragon can make the flames that moved Onigashima, and then
that's how he flies.
Can make his own little ones.
Yeah, that's how he flies.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I think I think in terms of like this, I was saying that before. I always felt like Gear 2, Gear 3, Gear 4 were imperfect versions of Luffy's Gear 5. He was missing something, but he was able to pass the threshold. That's why he always had those like huge awakening drawbacks, just like in
Yeah.
Law. The same drawbacks for the awakening is the same one as Gears. I'm wondering if Kaido did something similar in Wano. He was able to do awakening-esque type level of attacks, but he wasn't awakened. He couldn't reach it because of how he was.
Kaido is strong enough for the awakening
Physically,
to happen. Yeah, but his mind is not in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Like the jailer beast.
I think Moog like said it pretty well, and it's kind of like indicative in the way that Kaido in the Wano arc was mass producing like fruits, right? Like fake fruits. So it makes sense that he wouldn't truly be awakened, that because like, you know, it's just a parallel to the whole theme of what was going on. Like Kaido was trying to force it, sort of thing, and that isn't how you awaken.
Yep. And his whole thing anyway, like we know it's to do with like it's not just to do with your like personality being like congruent with the fruit. It's also just to do with like general willpower. Like there's a reason like Luffy from day one has been like, you know, in line with what Sun God Nika is, but he only awakened in chapter 1000 plus. It also like requires like a general like level of power, like a general level of will. And Kaido is like his whole thing as well is just being like this fucking lazy bum, you know, sitting on his ass for like 20 years in Wano, like not progressing, just doing everything, letting like everyone else do stuff for him. You know, he's just lost all of his will. So I don't think he would
I
awaken.
agree.
No, but your point, Moog, I'm gonna bring it back. Your point about, you know, Kaido, what he represent in Wano, and it makes so much sense because you think about it, that's why the Flamingo was awakened. Think about it. He was a puppeteer on his island. He was using
Exactly.
people like puppets. You're
Katakuri
right. It's
like
like,
wanted to stick his family
Yeah.
like together, bring them together. You know.
yeah, I see that. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I never thought of the island,
Luffy
like
is the
literally
killer, Yamato
the way
wants
you
to be
treat
guardian of
the
Wano.
way you treat the island plays a role. I never thought of the island themselves. It's true. It's so One Piece.
Mm-hmm. Which begs
Yeah,
the
it's
question: why
interesting.
is Saturn
Kaido's
awakened, right? Because what is the yokai that he is like got to do with his like personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, is it possible to artificial an awakening? I mean, we did see with Lucci, like, we don't have any explanation for how Lucci was awakened, so maybe there is an artificial way to do it. But Kaido definitely wasn't the one to get that down, and I imagine if there is artificial, there is some drawbacks.
So you know how well Dede knows that, you know, Eled's great theorist. He has this 4-part video about hockey, and he explains how he thinks that back in the day, the world government used Rokushiki as training wheels to learn hockey. I'm wondering if there's something similar for awakening, because it's interesting. It's Cypherpole again. You know what I mean? You know, like maybe Cypherpole found a way, which I will say through something like more mental, like hypnosis, something taming the person, and for some reason you're able to, you know, to make them go awaken. You know what I mean? Because Rob Lucci just got a phone call of Kizaru, and everything changed. He didn't even tell Kaku. You know what I mean? Like a sleeper agent.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be that they have found a way for also the awakening, found a way to put them in an awakened state, or have them reach it. So yeah, I could see that as well.
I'm looking at the yokai that Saturn is, you know, the Ushioni, which is I think what he's transformed into, and I'm just reading like the description on that yokai.com website. It's good. There's a website for that. But yeah, I'm just trying to look for anything that's like, because we don't know anything about the Gorosei, like each of the like individual members specifically, and even like about the Gorosei as a whole. So I mean, there's not much to go off of like Saturn specifically. We don't know much about his specific personality. So I mean, I guess like the connections right now are kind of strenuous, but there could be something in here.
Yeah.
I have a question. The dragon of Yamato, it's the Ryujin, right? Or is it a different one?
The dragon of Yamato.
No. Momo. I mean Momo. Sorry, I didn't mean Yamato.
Oh yeah, well it's just a copy of Kaido, and Kaido's the Seiryu.
No, because we're talking about the blue one, which I know is all divinity. But I was wondering, like, I'm want to Google to see if there's not like some simplification in lores with the pink dragon. You know, contrast to the blue one.
No, I don't think it's. I know there is the golden dragon, but
Like, like somebody mentioned in chat like it might be a Hito Nomi, right? And it's like like out of all the stuff we've spoken about for the past 2 days, we've mentioned it being definitely not a normal zone, maybe potentially a mythical zone, and probably not one fruit. Now, what is interesting, right, is a Hito is not one fruit. A Hito in Luffy's case was a Paramecia and a Logia, right? So it's like it's like maybe because I do not believe Saturn just has one power. I believe that he has a combination of a Paramecia and a Logia, or a Paramecia and a zone, or something like that. Probably zone, right? Or all three. And I think the only way to do that is probably a Hito Nomi. So shout out to you, Joe. Like you're a genius. And it's like somebody. I'm not sure if Zagarash is still watching, right? But he used to talk a lot about Suranus, I think the name is, right, which is the forest god. And a lot of people were talking about it at the time. And someone mentioned, it might be you, Josh, like obviously the antlers are pretty nuts, right? Which means like Suranus, the antlers, the forest god, which is a Hito Nomi fruit. So because Chopper has that fruit. And it's a fly agaric mushroom as well, which is pretty spicy, right? So yeah, so sorry to go on a rant, but that is really, really, really spicy. It could be the Gorosei could have like fucked up Hitos, like some spiced up energy steroid Hitos.
Yeah. Part of me want to think that maybe I think every Delph is a Hito, because there's this weird thing of in the English version, whenever someone tells him what the fruit is, I'm a rubber man, I'm a time man. They keep putting the word man with what they are. So I do see what you mean. It could be a thing that maybe, like, it sounds crazy. The ones who are called Hito is because they couldn't change the names a lot fast enough. But all the other ones, they changed to their different names, you know. But back then they were just Hito no Mi, the model, you know.
Yeah.
Bushiman for
Yeah. Like so, like say it was the yokai, it would be like Hito yokai model, bam bam bam. Like,
yeah, so
and then that's how you get like dragon, Kuma, which is a bear, just like the yokai. All of them maybe, like, so yeah, it's super interesting.
And
this is how awakenings are going to come in, I think. It's all
and
this is how awakenings are going to work.
And this works perfectly. Why? Because of Chopper's fruit. It's supposed to be a Zoan, yet it only has a type, no model, just human. But then you have all the other human fruits or mythical Zoans have a type, yet Chopper is just simply a Hito. So it's interesting, like there might be more to how they name the fruits, because it doesn't make sense for all the other ones. It's an exception to his own category.
Yeah, this is why I think it's more to the Hito fruit. I think it's one of the god fruits.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, look what Chopper is able to do, dude. Chopper's literally doing stuff naturally.
Like Josh has been. Well, in fact, I won't leak his theory actually, but yeah, Josh has got a spicy theory on Chopper and his central.
Yeah, there are some fruits that don't fit their description. Yeah, I believe that those are god fruits.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've always been fascinated by the fact that nowadays no one really bothers talking about Sengoku's fruit much, and it's like that fruit has to be super significant. It's one of the only other Hitos that we know, particularly that are in that state. And his face, the Daibutsu face, was on the Bible of the executioner or the person that carried out the sentence at Nolan's execution. So yeah, like there are a few fruits that I think will have multiple powers. Like,
I don't even think that Sengoku's fruit is that important, because we even got a model from the Hitonomi Mother Daibutsu. It's not a god. It's not a straight out god. It's a god statue.
But you know what's so important about it? It's not even the fruit that could be important. Sengoku having that fruit is so important. The type of Buddha, which is the Indian one, which is the Buddha statue, is known to remember their past life, that one specifically. And if you think about it, he was a fleet admiral for I don't know how many years. This makes it so interesting of what does this fruit do? Can he remember stuff that have been erased? You know, can he see, like, that's why I feel like the combination of the fruit and Sengoku with his ranking in the government is very interesting. It's very intriguing. It's game changer, you know?
Mhm.
He could be the one person not
Yeah.
not be subdued by Imu's sway. You know what I mean? If there is a such thing as a Imu sway, maybe Sengoku is immune to it because of being the Buddha, a Buddha man.
Well, I completely agree. Yeah, like that's why he's not just the Buddha; it's a golden Buddha statue because gold is, you know, the alchemical like situation for like the highest highest state of matter, sort of, or like the highest state of consciousness, and you know, the crown chakra basically. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he was immune. And like we said, what was interesting about him is he had black hair, whereas the Suru and Garp, who both joined the same year as he did, both have grey hair. And then Garp's always eating, and then what happens when Sengoku retires? His hair goes grey instantly, and then he has to eat all the time, as we see, which he wasn't doing when he was the admiral. So yeah, I do think that like he was immune to Emu somehow, or something like that.
So Hyde, one thing that you talked to me about this earlier today, and one thing that I kind of forgot to bring up then is that, you know how like we were discussing about how there's a good chance that Jupiter is the traitor of the Gorosei, right? Well, like Jupiter is the only one out of the Gorosei that's not that doesn't have grey hair or white hair or whatever. He's the only one that's still blonde. So maybe that if your theory is right, that like that has something to like that the hair is actually important because of their like eternal youth. Maybe that indicates that, I don't know, like either he's not taking it or he's taking more of it for himself or something like that, like undercover, you know.
And like, yeah, we spoke about it earlier. Like, what did we see Saturn doing all the way up to Egghead, right? When they were discussing and stuff, and they were carrying out plans. Like, he's got like white and grey hair, and he was eating a fucking meal. So it's like, I mean, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on with it, and
Like how Luffy
also
gets
like
white
if
hair in Gear 5 and he runs out of energy really quickly.
there you go, there you go. It's the Afro piece stuff. The more like I'm glad that Afro piece, that Dax theory came out when it did, because since then, every few chapters we do get these little like nods, and we've worked out some stuff since then, like Vivra cards and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the hair is definitely like significant, really.
For sure.
But also, I was going to ask everyone. Let me just pull up the top ecos. I was thinking about: is there anyone that dislikes Saturn's form, or disliked anything about like the sort of teleportation shit and stuff like that, or was everyone kind of happy with it?
I think it was cool. I think it's like a really good way to like introduce it, especially the fact that like the pattern is like an obvious like demon thing, right? It's kind of really adding to those themes of like basically everything the world government says is like projection, and the actual way it is like flipped or whatever. They're the real demons,
like
not the
summoning,
deeds.
like
Yeah.
So
devilish.
I like it a lot, and it's something I think Dan and I we were talking a few months ago about this, but the highest form of someone to express the desire for a dream is through prayers, because that's when someone lets go anything they can do and asks for help for a higher power. It's like the highest form. So Saturn coming out this way does prove to it that Mother Caramel U Rouge always doing those talking about those, you know, those offerings, you know, those prayers to the sun god, or saying let's give a prayer to Kaido as he jumps off the sky. Like I think that's very important. I think it's like how the first Delphi. I think it could be that back in the day when Joy Boy wanted the sun god Nika desired it, it could be as simple as he gave up, he went on his knees, and he was just praying at that moment, and then suddenly, you know, whoosh, you know what I mean? It could be as powerful as that, you know. So that's why I kind of like this, where we're going in One Piece right now. Back to the source.
No. Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah. Like Zagrash was spitting some absolute fire earlier about how like it's interesting that like in the Brook time skip where we saw that circle, they were trying to summon something there. Like it's a different type of ritual, you know what I mean? Like Saturn was like putting himself somewhere, whereas like voluntarily, whereas with the other one they were like summoning, like apparently Satan. They keep saying Satan, right? So yeah, it's weird, very weird stuff.
Yeah. And I was now wondering, but you know the star that Vegapunk and Frankie have, in a way, if we take Roger's quote, turn the world upside down, wouldn't it look like that pentagram, if I'm not mistaken? Because it does also have those 5 points, just as the opposite side.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few of them in One Piece, like
Yeah,
Marie's for
Interesting
example, like
So maybe
weird symbols.
sometimes we saw, because sometimes Oda shows us those stars in different form. Sometimes it wasn't a star that he showed us. Maybe it was a pentagram. We just assume it was a star.
Yeah,
Like star
yeah.
with signs and stuff like that. Instead, it could have been all about prayers instead, which is interesting. Where we
Like we were saying earlier with the whole the Gobasei is literally a 5-pointed star, which is a play on the word Gorosei, right? Like, or Gorosei is a play on the word Gobasei potentially. So, my other question I was going to ask is what do we think is going to happen with him? Is someone going to fight him, and if so, who's it going to be?
I mean,
Right.
I mean,
Well, I think first of all, Saturn's gonna use someone as a kind of just take him out easily to show his power, and that's probably gonna be Sanji, Frankie, those guys right now that are with him. I have no idea though who's gonna defeat him ultimately, because Luffy's out for the count, and Kizaru's not he's more damaged than Kizaru, it looks like. So I have no idea.
No, Luffy's
What
just
do you think,
out of-
Cody?
Yeah.
Or Josh?
Yeah, I think Kizaru is knocked out, straight out knocked out, and Luffy just out of steam.
Yeah.
His time limit is out. Is up.
I didn't see.
Don't know.
I have to reread the chapter quickly.
Yeah. The whole move is like the thing when in the cartoons when a character is knocked out with stars and things.
Yeah, it made stars, but he did speak as well, so it's hard to. I don't think we've got anything to fit.
He think about it that he was worried. We didn't see him after that.
So I don't know if Luffy will have a full fight, but Luffy needs to have an interaction with him because we have to see the way Saturn speaks to Joy Boy, to Nika, the Nika form of Luffy. It could tell us a lot about if he's really that old, what was the relationship,
You mean
how he
if
feels
they're
about
familiar or something like that?
Yeah, the way he talks about him.
Yeah.
If he looks sad when he looks at him, or does he look angry? Like the way Imu talked about Lily, even if it was for one chapter, was so telling of the relationship. You know what I mean? And we know nothing about the Gorosei's personality. They're always shown for 5 seconds.
I agree. The way he said Lika alone was quite cleverly done, because it was minimalistic, but it showed that it's definitely mysterious. They looked sus.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think Cody, what about you? Do you think Sanji will be in there, Frankie will be in there?
And where?
Who do you reckon's gonna fight Saturn?
Oh, that's a great question. Who knows?
You got no picks. You got no favorites for it.
Let someone else have the floor. I'm good.
We've seen there everyone who can fight with Sanji, Frankie, and Bonnie.
For me, it has to be Oh, sorry. Go then.
Go Cube after you.
I was gonna just say it has to be a combination, either one of the combo of the both, Frankie and Sanji, because I think Denden and Zygarde were spitting a few hours ago on the VC, and they were saying if you think about it, what Saturn represent between the science faction, between the family stuff, Frankie and Sanji are prime candidates for their interaction with Saturn. You know what I mean? In the story.
True.
Yeah.
I just see the Saturn's got to be at least he's going to be probably on the same level as an admiral like Kizaru, right? I just don't know how Frankie and Sanji could do that much to him at this point, and he needs I feel like he just needs someone to use as a jobber to kind of just show his power, and he's got Frankie and Sanji right in front of him, so maybe that'll be Atlas, right? Maybe he'll kill Vegapunk here, who knows?
Yeah, I think the two Vegapunks are gonna be the.
Actually, Frankie would be a good.
What is interesting? What I was going to say is what is interesting is Saturn is completely emotionless, right? Whereas not completely emotionless, but lacks a lot of emotion, and doesn't really move or express much. Whereas Sanji is extremely expressive, the opposite in a way.
Frankie as well, if you think about it. Think his whole fight with Senior Pink, he was moved by Senior Pink, literally. So yeah.
Started out life as a lone wolf, sparring with a watching a logo go kunai in hand, and I'm so cool. Never been one for emotion.
Meant to see. I think that's just because he's like a Gorosei, or they're not meant to see his true power or something.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And like Joe,
Whopper saw all 5 of them plus Emu in their true forms.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably something the Saturn intentionally did, right? Because it's not just like everyone who looks at him.
Yeah. I think so too. I think so too. I think
I
he
think it was
activated something.
intentional. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it was intentional because like in the TCB, it sort of clarified a little bit. Like it said, it's like the dialogue just like sort of suggested that Saturn would do that to you if you looked him in the eyes. Like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm now, you know what, we're talking about this. I think that maybe there's a big chance that Frankie might not be affected by it. Well, first, the glasses, as
His
seen
robot
that
eyes.
knows, or also he's also half cybernetic. It could be that it's enough for him not to be affected the same way. We saw with with S-Snake, he was only half his body was turned into stone. So it could be a thing that it won't affect him the same as the others.
yeah, and I mean, like we're talking about Sanji as well, somebody who isn't like, yeah, he might be emotional and stuff like that, but he is not human. Like, you know, in a similar way to Frankie.
And
Yeah,
also
exactly.
Atlas, like, it has that same thing as well. And Frankie, and the only other person there in the scene is Vegapunk Stella, who Frankie is literally shielding from being able to see Saturn. So maybe there's actually something to that.
Wait, they did see each other though, right? Because Saturn said, because Vegapunk was like, "Yo, what's up?" And like Saturn was like, "Yo, long time no see," or something like that.
I'm rereading.
He was like, "You're clinging on to life still."
So
Right at the end.
there's also something interesting happened in the chapter, and it's because it does connect to Saturn. Saturn said he saw Vegapunk once in his life, right? To Kizaru.
Yeah.
And it does seem at the end we might have got the moment with the Kuma memory. I thought it would be like 30 years ago. So I found it very interesting that it seems that Saturn and him haven't met up to when he removed Kuma's memories, which is interesting.
Well, we saw that he met the Gorosei in that like cover story.
Yeah.
When he was first, that was 24 years ago when he was first accepted, like out of Mads.
Yeah.
But then also there's like a second interaction where, like, I guess he was removing Kuma's memories. So, but because he's only Saturn and Vegapunk have only met once, does that mean that was the same interaction? In which case, Kuma's memories were removed 24 years ago, which was, according to the Vivid card, is the same year Bonnie was born. But that doesn't make any sense because Bonnie was like a few years old when Kuma saw her in that flashback. So I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that either like some of these memories are artificial, or like there has been some like big recent thing that happened with Kuma, and like this is the dialogue we're hearing from Bonnie at the end of the chapter when she's hearing, she's like remembering from the memory bubble, like oh, like, you know, somebody commanding Vegapunk to do it, like which is probably Saturn.
I can get around it is if that dialogue that Bonnie's like recalling right now is like Saturn speaking over Denda Mushi, so it's not like they're technically meeting. So that could be the way.
Yes, I think that's the way. I didn't think of that, but you're right. Like probably through Denda Mushi. It's probably why she's just recalling the sound.
I was gonna bring it up that maybe, you know, it could be also be a moment where basically Saturn came to see Vegapunk, but he didn't tell the other Gorosei as well. You know what I mean? Like he's handling his stuff. So I could think that he's basically like it could be a thing that's, I like what Mook just said, but it could also be a thing that there's sometimes that Saturn did stuff without telling the Gorosei, so it's unofficial. Because I think he was telling Kizaru the official. I only saw him once.
Yeah. Like Joe R. again in the chat was like saying about like Sanji having the exoskeleton and like him not being able to take damage. And it's interesting that he mentions that because Zagrash earlier pointed out that panel in, I think, Thriller Bark. Oh no, in Sabaody, where Sanji says to Kuma, like, I'm the one that's going to be the biggest. Me, Black Leg Sanji will be the one that's the biggest trouble for you, or something like that. So it is interesting. Like, Sanji's got some smoke to deal with.
Yeah, and if it was Saturn personally talking to Kuma on the Denda Mushi in Thriller Bark, then that would have some added kind of weight, I guess.
True, as well.
Yeah, and like we saw the focal with Shaka and Dragon, so it might have been that like Vegapunk was leaking information to Dragon, like the commands and stuff like that, because we knew that Dragon sort of had some idea, and the revolutionaries had some idea that he was under some control. They even said it in a recent chapter, you know, they were like, oh, he's probably still under their control.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. What do we think about Kizaru? Do anyone think he's a good guy or?
No,
Turn
he's not a
code.
good guy.
Stop.
But I don't know if he's knocked out. I know someone said he's knocked out. I don't see that. The last panel
Oh.
of him in the chapter is him getting like punched, and he doesn't appear again. So I guess maybe.
You can see the white star around his head, like in the core cartoons, like Tom and Jerry or something
Yeah.
like that.
He's concussed, to say the least.
That's actually
Yeah.
pretty like a good feat from Luffy then.
Guys, do you imagine
yeah,
now?
definitely.
Luffy has, I think it's accurate now. Luffy has surpassed the level that Kizaru showed in Sabaody. Kizaru was not tired with Rayleigh, and Rayleigh literally was perfect.
But
With
the very
Kizaru.
least, they're,
Isn't
like,
Luffy
equal,
the
and that's
only
without
person
using
that
it
we've
for-
seen to ever hit a admiral?
To have a
White
admiral,
beard.
no, I mean you had Shanks like with a Kainu. That's like one example, I guess.
Yeah, and the white beard with Akainu.
Rayleigh, Kizaru,
Mm,
but like
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
to knock out
Whitebeard
an admiral,
fucking
like he's the
smashes.
first. Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Yeah, we haven't seen Kizaru get hit, so he might just be a glass cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be.
And also,
Cody, give us some egghead energy. Let me feel it.
What kind of energy would you be talking about? I don't think Egghead has a sufficient
Um,
energy source, and that's why the robot couldn't be powered, Vegapunk said. So what energy could you be referring to, Den?
The drums of
Well, maybe
Orochi.
or the flame, or the eternal flame.
I don't
Whatever
have
you got,
either of
really.
those, I'm sorry.
Do you have some cola on you?
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
Green blood.
Yeah, okay. You have to ask the next question though, Cody.
What was everyone's favorite part of the chapter?
Saturn just looks really fucking cool. That's my favorite part, even though that's like half of it.
We know what your favorite part of the chapter is, Cody. So, I'm not sure. I'm a bit weirded out by Kizaru shooting at the Vega tank and missing, and then cutting the like cloud and then falling down. It's all a bit sus because I know a lot of people are like on some Kizaru agenda at the moment, and it just doesn't seem to add up. So yeah, weird.
For me, it's very comical, but it's just the whole Stella turning his head around when he thinks he hears the word Saturn, and then he sees Saturn, and Saturn tells him, "Well, hello, Vegapunk." This had me dead. It's like the kid running away from his bully, and he turns around, and his bully's right behind him. It had me dead the way Vegapunk just looked and says, "Oh shit, Saturn is here."
Yeah,
like, oh, shit.
yeah. He
Like,
didn't
it's
seem
so
that
funny.
scared.
No, just his reaction, like, "Oh shit, he's here," you know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegapunk. I think if you're Vegapunk, even the way he is, I think he had to go through enough shit that it doesn't scare him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, trust. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like an innocent dude, or like he's kind of like a chemist in a gangster movie or something, and he's just like seen it all, but he's like totally helpless. Really, they're just like trying to save him, move him around.
He's basically Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, Walter White, but with a bit more emotion,
Exactly.
empathy for people. But yeah, he's seen enough shit, but you cannot. I mean, I'll say this: Vegapunk being alive this long with the stuff he's been doing shows that he's a very smart man. He knows how to survive. In the world of One Piece, where the weak get killed easily.
I don't know how like he's gonna survive, considering like I'm not sure what Oda's gonna do, but like Vegapunk's responsible for a lot of death. You know what I mean? A lot of bad stuff because of the weapons he's made, and we see that more than ever with York and Leisure, right? So yeah, I don't know how like he's gonna be redeemed, but
yeah.
Then again,
die. Shaka said that he's gonna. Shaka said that he's gonna die, and I guess he ended up dying. Like Shaka personally did, but I like treat that as like all the Vegapunks, except maybe York. You know?
No.
My new copium is that like because he's such a shit character, like Shaka was using Stella's voice when he said that to Dragon, and like Dragon doesn't know because I don't think. yeah, I don't think Shaka would tell him. If Shaka was telling Dragon that he was going to die, and then the way he did die was by being surprisingly shot in the back of the head, I don't think them two things add up. So I think it's more likely he was using Stella's voice, and he was doing it to warn like Dragon, yo, come and get Punk Records and come and get Stella, yeah.
Which I do think Dragon and the Revs are coming up to Egghead. If not during like the conflict, then like after, the same way that Dragon pulled up to Ahara after the Busted right to salvage some stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And like basically, Mook, it came from the idea that you'll see all the satellite keep saying that Shaka is too uptight. Yet when Shaka said what he said on the Den and Mushi, Dragon talked to him like he was Stella. Stop with your jokes, Vegapunk. He didn't speak. It doesn't seem like he knew it to Shaka. That's why. So that's what Deden is actually, you know. And I do agree to some extent. I've said this. I think we're not talking to the real Vegapunk, because the moment he separated himself, it affected his personality. That's why he is the way he is. So I think that the Vegapunk will die, because we're gonna get through the death of everything the real Vegapunk. Like, I think at the end of this arc, I think the best thing is to have all the satellite dead and Stella becoming the person he once was, because I think that we're giving a hollow shell of Vegapunk in 7 different forms, but it's not really truly him.
I would like that idea more. Like, it sounds good. The only problem I have with it is we've now had 2 satellites, Shaka and Pythagoras, that are fully dead, like not dead now, right? And we haven't seen like any like changes in Stella's personality. He hasn't become more like good or uptight like Shaka. He hasn't, whatever the fuck, Pythagoras. He hasn't become more like Pythagoras in any way. There's no change. So that implies that maybe it doesn't. It doesn't affect it too much.
Yeah.
I think. Wait, Joshua. Just to answer to that is, I think it's the same thing for Atlas. Atlas was destroyed but then came back. I think there's a body aspect, but there's also a mind aspect, like in Punk Records. And I think you have to deactivate it. You know what I mean? Like, even if their body are destroyed, Vegapunk could just reboot it and give them a new body. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think maybe it hasn't happened.
Which is kind of crazy. Like, you could just bring someone back to life, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like even Shaka to some extent isn't actually gone yet. If Stella wants to go do it, I think he can click on a button and then a body. So that
die, and when the Atlas already died, and they could bring her back.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird.
There's also like, if there's loads of technical issues when you get into it. So it's one of the things that makes me think he will die, like is because like, for example, York is a traitor, but she eats for them, so all she has to do is not eat. You know, and like,
she also wants
the
to
others
not die,
are fucked.
right? She's gonna starve at like an equal rate than all the rest. So.
Yeah, but you'd surely think she could just live off enough food for one person, and like the rest of them would be weak or something like that. There's plot holes all over that, I'd say.
Well, I think the whole idea with like all of the crazy tech that like Oda's introduced on Egghead, the whole point is that none of it's going to see the light of day after this arc, because like it's all going to be destroyed by the world government, showing how much, you know, Vegapunk could improve the world, could improve society with all this tech that can bring people back to life and fucking create infinite food and stuff, and how it all just gets like trashed ultimately by the world government.
Yeah, they can't have an ancient island just like carrying on. Like, it would surely get destroyed unless Blackbeard turns up and like wants the ancient tech or something like that.
Well, that's I guess we could like talk about that, because one of my like most confident theories out of the whole of like the entire series is that what Blackbeard, not Blackbeard personally, I don't think he's on the ship to Egghead, but like what his crew is here for is basically Devon is on the ship, and Devon, their plan is to transform into J. Garcia Saturn and basically just order the Seraphim to like be on their side and take the Seraphim. That because their whole thing, they like chapter 1059, right? They went after Boa, they couldn't get her, but that was the same time where they saw S-Snake and they saw the Boa Seraphim, and now they're coming for the Boa Seraphim and all the other like ones on Egghead too. They're all at the same point right now. They're all like stunned in the bubbles. So I think that's what they're going for.
I would add, I think that is that, but I think he's actually eyeing for the entire Pacifista. This came from Sage, Seastone Sage, when she did her first read of Egghead. She did tell me the one thing that really got Blackbeard wasn't seeing Seraphim as Lunarians, because he was like amazed. But what shocked him was the word Pacifista. And then he said, they're Pacifistas? I think you're right, and I think he's going after the entire Pacifista project. Yeah, and I think because he has more fruits. because I don't think it's a coincidence that he mentioned that the fruit called for him. So I do think that Blackbeard does get fruit from his crew members, but he gets fruit that calls to them. You know what I mean? Like they feel connected. And I think he might have fruits on standby that doesn't fit anyone. And he's maybe thinking, you know what? Let's just create pacifistas. I'll take the project and I'll have the best. You know what I mean? It could also make sense. He would have the best people because he would just make them as pacifistas, and they would be perfect candidates.
I think I also saying that like what Ku was saying, like Blackbeard was like, oh, they've got pacifistas, and obviously Blackbeard's seen the pacifistas and stuff before. But I think another thing is they're going to use the pacifistas while they're there to try secure Robin, because at the end of the day, we are in this final like beef for the poneglyphs. That's what's coming after Egghead, the final push for these, like for the last poneglyph and stuff like that. And they're all going to want a piece of them. They're all going to want to read them and stuff. And I don't think Pudding's going to be about to do it. She's not going to be around to do it. I don't think, because I just don't see Oda having that situation happen, like her being a prisoner and like being forced to read them and then reading them and telling Blackbeard the truth and stuff like that. I just don't see it. So I think they're going to try secure Robin and maybe succeed.
Guess what? And then they might, but however, there might be a way for Pudding. Do you know how you wait the two ways you awaken a third eye? Either by meditation or through hypnosis. So I do think like Lafitte could be able to awaken it, but I do agree. I think that even if she can awaken it, she will not give a general answer. So to that extent, that's what I see it happening.
Hypnosis is a really interesting concept in their kids, but
yeah,
I just wanted to quickly add. Oh,
yeah, go
on.
No, go. No, go. No
well, okay. I was gonna say, I do want to touch on something Moog was saying, right? Because I'm not sure. Like, I agree with what you were saying about copying Saturn and commanding the pacifistas, but do you have any reasons or any note is like, it's hard to explain. Basically, when we were talking about it the other day, we were saying that it might be possible that she can copy the heartbeat. And if she can copy the heartbeat, then she copies Luffy's heartbeat, then it means her heart would beat in the drums of liberation. Does that make sense? And then she could maybe use the voice of all things. She could maybe control Zunisha. She could maybe like turn herself into Gear 5. So yeah, I think
only be able to copy Luffy's like Gear 5 heartbeat by turning into Gear 5 Luffy, but I don't think she can like copy people's Devil Fruit powers because that would just be way too broken.
Yeah.
So she can probably only copy the heartbeat of like regular Gear 1 Luffy, which is like normal.
Yeah, it didn't seem like if you fought with Absalom, she didn't show that she had any of his abilities. She just was physically as Absalom. And since Kitsune, it's a trickster, so I would see that it's more of a trick than actually mimicking the. But actually, I was going to bring this up because that's something I actually no one realized. Do you know what? Because we're talking about Absalom, and I think it's very important with the pacifistas. Do you know what was the last thing Absalom was doing before he was killed in the story? He had left Thriller Bark with Dr. Hogback to look for Moria. And the next time in the story, what do we find out? What do we find out in the next part? Wait, yeah?
Wasn't the actual like last thing he ever did was like he was working as a reporter, like the one taking the pictures for the bounty posters for the world government, and he took like the
no, that was that was an answer from SBS from Oda, like what does Absalom is doing nowadays. But in the canon wise, they said that Moria they were trying to deliver him to his two former nakamas from the left Turtle Bark to go save him, Dr. Hogback and Absalom. And the next thing in the story, we found out like Absalom is dead and his fruit is in Hashinosu, but Hogback is nowhere to be found. I think Blackbeard has Hogback.
Yeah.
I think Blackbeard has Hogback. And so now the stuff you're talking about, the pacifista, the seraphims, it would make sense because I think Hogback is smart enough to do what Blackbeard wants him, maybe. I think Hogback could be his science guy right now. Because he doesn't have a science guy, but it could be that he's using Hogback right now. Because we don't know where he is.
I'm so like curious as to what Moria's like Oda's ultimate plan is for Moria, because he just seems like where could he even go from here, What's Moria
same thing.
do?
Same thing.
I think like ultimately the shadow stuff is kind of like whether people like these powerful fruits where people can sort of move like teleport and stuff like that, and the shadow ability is one of them, and like again it possesses like an aspect of people's soul, or a separate soul even. So yeah, I do think like it might just be a situation where Moria is fodder, and the fruit ability gets used by someone like Blackbeard or something at some point for some like one-off reason.
Which is why I was like really convinced before we saw like Pizarro getting the island fruit that like Blackbeard would have killed Moria and taken his fruit and given it to probably like Cavallo Pizarro, because he didn't have one like, at the time. Because I'm just like, yeah, like the fruit is the important thing. Moria, the actual character, is not. So.
My question is this: why? That's the question. Is why did he keep Moria alive? And that's the weird thing. He killed Absalom but kept Moria. Well, okay, we'll deny that Absalom's fruit, the invisible fruit, is OP. But I mean, if there's one fruit that you put it to a member of your crew because you will trust your crew to some extent. So, and until proven otherwise, I think.
I mean, there might be some like relevant to like either like, well, it might be a limit to, you know, they might only be able to do it in certain situations, but it also might just be a matter of like just doing it more closer to the time because they needed the invisibility fruit to kill, like to try smash Garp.
Yeah. Do you guys? It sounds dumb, but you guys were talking about Moria and you know, and the Yami and the Kage, right? And they're both Dao fruits that have the color black, and it sounds dumb, but you know, Miss Golden Week, literally every colors of her painting had a different effect on wills, you know, on someone's will. Do you think in One Piece, color, depending on the color that you visualize, that's if you'll have a certain effect, you know? Like maybe that's why the Kage and the Yami do something very unique because it's black. The manifestation color is black, you know? Like maybe black has this, you know, this ability, you know, absence of color. It could be a thing, you know, maybe it has an effect on wills in that way. And so basically, like there may be 10 colors in One Piece, and that would explain how hockey works, you know, the different possibilities. I don't know. Might be a bit crazy. It might be a bit crazy. Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe in the chat was mentioning like they need Moira alive for a reason. We just don't know why yet and stuff. And yeah, I agree. Like yeah, I think it could be a fodder situation, but there will be some like little bullshit like line about you know. But maybe there's a deeper lore to it, a more important lore for us anyway. Do we think so? How is Kuma going to come into this situation? Is Kuma going to face Saturn at all, or is Kuma just going to pop up?
That's actually like a good idea. Sorry, I just like massively overreacted there. That's actually a good way to get rid of Saturn. If Kuma comes in and as he's about to attack Bonnie, fucking pulls him away. In fact, if this like little speech where like Bonnie is like recalling stuff that Saturn said from the Kuma flashback, if this is our way like next chapter to tie us into the Kuma flashback, we get that the whole thing plays out. Then we return to the present day. Saturn's about to attack Bonnie, and then that's how Kuma comes in right at the very end of the flashback, swipes him away. You know, I think that would be great.
So for that part, I would agree.
That'd be amazing.
Except the problem is, I do feel because you know that's what Law can explain. That's why you can use room in Wano from a Big Mom and Kaido because of how their wills are. If Kuma regains his free will, I could see him doing that, but I just don't know if it would affect Saturn because he's in his awakened shape. You know what I mean? It could be the same thing as Big Mom and Kaido. Like he might try to do it, but it won't set him away. You know what I mean? His will is just too strong. His presence will just.
I think it would be really cool to have Kuma do that because he's the one who knocked all of the Straw Hats away, separating all of them. It would be really cool to see Kuma like inverted and sending the enemy away this time.
Yeah.
And Neckhead is the reverse Sabaudi, so.
Yeah. But I do agree. I would love to see it. It's just, you know, I'm wondering if Kuma's lack of free will might hinder him. But if it doesn't, I'm 100% behind you. I think it would be the best, perfect parallel for what happened to Sabaudi.
Yeah.
So
and speaking of that final, go on.
I was going to say, do we think there's going to be some destruction in Egghead? Then that means that when Saturn does get poured, he just goes like Team Rocket, like, or do we think he's just going to smash into the walls and then come back?
That's actually a good point because he can just teleport back. But what if it's like a case where like he teleports back, but then like as soon as he like arrives back on the island, he like gets sent away again. So he's constantly, I don't know. That's kind of a way to like stall him without fully removing him.
Interesting.
But that might be a bit goofy. I don't know. I feel like Saturn needs to do more
there
than
are
literally
things.
get pulled
There
forward
are
like in 2
things that
seconds.
could be done. I mean, what are we thinking about? Like, I'm not saying pouring him to the moon, but maybe there's a way to, because I do not think Saturn is going back to Marijwa anytime soon.
I think he's okay. I have a whole theory on this. I've like wrote a script about this, but this is like I don't want to get into it now because it's like it's just too controversial, too much to explain. But I think Saturn's not making it out of Egghead permanently.
And you think that, like, with Katarina Devon copying him, that she's going to go back as like some body double? Do you reckon?
Not to Marijwa. I think no.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like I think that's what the Egghead incident is Saturn's death and what comes of it. But I'll save it for the video. It'll probably come out in like 2-3 weeks. I've got plans.
Actually, I might have found something that might be interesting, because it would be the theme of Egghead and a parallel to what happened in Thriller Bark and Sabaody. What if instead of setting Saturn away, Kuma with his fruit would be able to maybe like affect like Saturn's memories, like he's getting an experience, like stuff he's done in the past. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know,
We'll
like
just get the
right
voice
now-
entry flashback from Saturn.
No, but I mean more like, you know how she saw them with Bonnie, made them see their possible death at that instant. What if Kuma, by doing that, he makes Saturn relive certain events of his life? You know, so for that moment, he's like he's seeing those images, like, and he's completely taking over while they're trying to flee at the same time. And Kuma keeps just giving those boosts of his memories, just hurting, like literally his own experiences is affecting him. You know, instead of just the last time they did it with pain. What if instead it's with memories, and that might occupy him?
Like, I just want to like just add in to what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
If Kuma is to use the pour ability and hit Saturn away somewhere, is there any way we think that Saturn look at Kuma as he gets pulled away, and then that's what like ends Kuma's like not life straight away, but like breaks him once and for all, or because. Yeah, it's not going to be as simple as Kuma rocks up, pours Saturn away, and then they all go for lunch. You know what I mean? Something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
In terms of power scaling as well, like he's a Gorosei, it would be like God with Kaido. It would be like very lackluster, to have him being gaunted, taking care in 2 seconds.
Sorry to spam the Joe comments, right? But the dude has just going to be an instant, and Saturn would go down with the whole island. Now that makes sense. Like if Egghead is next to an island, like the one in the chat.
All right. I thought this was some like leak. Okay.
No. The dude in the chat is saying like, look, there'll be an incident, and Saturn will go down with the whole island, pretty much. So if they do destroy the island.
You know what? It's interesting because if you think about it, and this goes to what you said a few months ago, every 38 years there's a certain event in the world. That's what Mother Caramel seems to be alluding to, right? Well, we always assume Marineford could be that thing, but that was 2 years ago. What if Egghead is supposed to be the God Valley-esque event? Because God Valley also disappeared with rocks as well. What if this time it's with Saturn and the Egghead? So I do like that.
Interesting.
And considering how that young Gorosei is, I'm pretty sure he must have joined around the time of God Valley. Like maybe at God Valley there was also a Gorosei that died, so that'd be like the parallel to God Valley. At Egghead, another Gorosei dies.
My crackpot theory is that, like, following the Void Century, there were originally 6 Gorosei, and the 6th one had Kaido's fruit, and that was the dragon Ryuma slayed, and that's why the Gorosei never go out, because they realize like using themselves as like combat people doesn't work, because they can get killed. That's really bad.
You're a genius. You're an absolute genius, mate.
I am.
So, do we reckon that God Valley, that a member of the Gorosei might have died?
For me, I think more that he fled, he left. I'm still saying this. Ganful for Gorosei. I'm still saying it.
You don't think Rox could have been a member of the Gorosei?
That's what I was just about to say, that Roxy Zebek would have been a member of the Gorosei and wanted to usurp Imu, and that was the celestial dragon he kidnapped.
Jesus. That's cooking. Let me just say one thing quickly to just with what Cody's saying, right? What was the first image we were ever shown of Zebek? It was a black silhouette with red eyes or white eyes in the manga. Come on, I mean, like that is that yokai silhouette that we've been seeing. It's
So, guys,
like Cody, he's onto something there.
Do you reckon he had a
after
fruit then?
this,
He had a yokai
wait,
fruit.
guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna at least attack on that thing. He's a D-clan member. I could see maybe connect to world government, but I do not see a Gorosei right now being a D-clan member. The way they talk about them, I do not see it.
I see.
So you don't think
I
Shanks
see the
has a
fact
D?
that Garp.
Is she? Do you think Shanks could be a part of the D clan? Yes or no?
No.
No.
All right.
Nah, he's like celestial.
Good.
I think what's interesting is that Garp, like, so they were saying in the chat about how like putting Garp's shadow into Zebek, which is like what Kube's all about and what Adam's all about, right? But particularly Kube. And then like, so if they need Hogback and Moira to do that, it's interesting because Garp kept saying that he denied promotions over and over and over again. So and we've seen how powerful this guy is, right? So what if Zebek was like a naughty member of the Gorosei or something like that? And that is why Blackbeard is trying to, and Blackbeard's going to make the Gorosei, like to give Blackbeard a member of the Gorosei. And Garp was at God Valley. Just saying. To
remember everyone, the only time we heard the way they talk about the rocks killing each other, the only time we had someone explain a certain type of thing was Luffy's training. They showed the same type of posture for Garp and Xebex, and no one was able to stop Xebex until Garp defeated him. And no one, they said after this one day, Garp's name was not known around the world, and no one recognized the name Garp in the newspaper. I mean, yeah. Safe to say that they are connected. They must be the same person. But I like the Gorosei twist because it could be that before the Garp was more, Rocks was more like, he was really actually world government affiliated. He was a saint, It could be also that. Saint Rocks, yeah. Saint Peter, a disciple of Jesus. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that like 3 days video is literally about how Rocks was Jupiter, right?
Yeah.
So Wolf is cooking right now. Like, is the stream lagging? I hope it isn't.
It doesn't seem to be lagging on my end. But I was gonna say, we know that someone had to betray Nika, and this will be the biggest twist if whatever Luffy is supposed to represent. Maybe the Rocks family, who is now the biggest allies, will be the biggest ally of Luffy in the story because of the whole Garp, Luffy, and everything. If they're indeed the same family, it could be that initially it was the Rocks family that betrayed Nika. Imagine the biggest twist, And now the Rocks are making their amends, because you always have those people who do stuff in the past and then they try to make it better. Odin, you have that Odin trying to redo everything because he left, You keep having that. So I could see, or Kyros failing to save Dressrosa, trying to make amends, fighting the thing. It's always like one person who his family could have changed something and they fucked it up. So it could be that the Rocks family or the Monkey D family, if it's the same family that screwed it up 800 years ago.
That's interesting. Interesting. That is interesting. Like, that's the twist.
Yeah, that would be that would be so unique, because that's literally someone who fucked up, and now Joy Boy is like, maybe Joy Boy initially is the reason why Nika died, if you think about it. Just like how Ace, even though he turned around to Akainu, he first did it because Luffy was going back for the Viva card. In a sense, Luffy is the reason why Ace also wasn't like running really 100%. You know what I mean? It could be something very similar.
Yeah.
With Joy Boy. Joy Boy is the reason that Nika died, maybe.
So maybe the reason why Zebek was going, like they said, one big score. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. And
Luffy is naive enough to be deceived.
Big Mums have world government involvement through Carmel. Kaido's had world government involvement from being caught like 17 times and experimented on.
Yeah.
And then, what's his name? Captain John and all them lot were zombies under Moira. And Moria, and like they were Rocks potentially rocks like affiliates.
But that's the thing that's interesting about Moria is that so for sure I think Moria was at God Valley. He was saved by the rocks. Because don't you find it interesting that he would have been 10 years old at the time of God Valley incident, and he literally has zombies of rocks pirates. I mean, if you think about it, it's very unique for someone to his stature. So I think that maybe he might have seen them and loved, you know what I mean? You know how some people, Kaido speaks about Roger? Maybe Moria sees the rocks as that way, And he went after Kaido. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would explain why he went after Kaido, despite being like so weak against him.
Yeah. And I'll say this: Moria is pretty badass. He's the only character that led 2 successful crews, the way it was described. Better than Kaido even, because let's not deny that these pirates are a cool crew, but they're not really making world-changing news around the world.
Yeah.
Moria isn't as as sucky as people think he is. He's a weird character. He's very weirdly written because he didn't seem that important at the beginning.
He's a strange character.
Yeah. Actually, guys, I have a question. So now we're going all the yokai and all of those incantations, those kind of stuff. Do you guys think now that we might finally be getting more into what was? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll repeat. I said, do you guys now that we're going all those incantation, magic, all of that supernatural stuff, praying? Do you think that we might go more understanding what is a curse of One Piece and maybe explain to us why Delphi users are cursed? Because they didn't explain to us how they were cursed. Like we know they're cursed, they can't swim, but we don't know the how to. You know what I mean? Like every Delphi user are affected by that. It's pretty impressive.
Still waiting for Oda to explain Devil Fruits, because he said once Vegapunk was introduced, we would know how all this works. And I mean, we're only getting more questions. Like, stop with it, Oda.
Yeah.
27 years is long enough.
Like, it is like an episode lost. It's just more and more mystery every time. What were you just saying, Cube? What were you just saying?
I said now that we're going all those incantation, praying, rituals.
Oh,
do you think we're gonna get into curses? Curses.
Like, well, obviously on Denden I've got a video which is in like the thumbnail says like inherited will as a curse, and like I do think that if you've got a fruit, then you've inherited some form of will, and that will cannot be completed, or you cannot rest, or that will cannot rest until it's fulfilled its desire or whatever, or its duty, or return to its source or whatever. And that's what, like, I do think there'll be like this idea that like inherited will it's a good thing, but it's also like could be considered a curse, just like Devil Fruits and raid suit. Like the raid suits are made for only certain people, so like they are burdened. Like these people aren't like sort of normal people, they're like cyborg people and shit like that,
Yeah, I remember that video. Twitcher content.
But have we got any other thoughts on Kuma coming, or are we just pretty much settled on the fact that he's gonna just turn up and like pour Saturn away at some point?
I don't know if he'll pour Saturn away, but he'll pour someone away. Maybe Kizaru or something. Lucci.
Yeah, I could. Well, Lucci, I think Lucci.
Well, Kizaru would make sense because then it would actually be a reverse about it,
The purple fruit is slower than Kizaru. So but
it would still like slow Kizaru down because they'd be trying to counteract it. If he's going at light speed and then purple fruit is like slower than light speed, then
if he poured Saturn away, then there's no reason why Kizaru wouldn't be able to just go get Saturn quickly, like catch him almost.
Well, wouldn't he still be like being pushed? I don't really know how like his fruit works, but
oh yeah, the force might be too much to stop. Yeah, that's a good point.
And also he doesn't even like, it's not even super speed. Like to some extent, I think like it has to be a mix between super speed, vibration, and what's called and literally like you're like telekinesis, because repulsion is literally being pushed back. I think it's some kind of force gravity in a sense. So I think even if like
it's almost like Rio.
Yeah. So I think even if Kizaru could catch Saturn, I think because of the force of it, Kizaru will have to like be dragged as well for a couple meters. You know what I mean? He wouldn't just catch him and stop him. I think he'll be also dragged with it a bit.
Let alone if Kuma maybe put some extra effort into it. Like maybe Kuma can really slap that. Like
because he just has super speed. Kuma has repulsion. The speed component he beats him, but on the everything else he beats him. Kuma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
I was gonna, about your thing is, I was just gonna say, I also think Oda is preparing us the story to have Yu Rouge, because I find it very interesting how we're going deep into the praying stuff, where she's like the one supernova that's always praying and talking about, philosophy.
For the
So
bug pirates.
Rouge for fuck that up. A Rouge for Elbaf, I think.
yeah, dude, I think he's gonna be my favorite supernova.
I love him
don't know
already.
why.
He's so fun.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
like grinning the whole. He's just like he's always doing a troll face. So good.
Yeah.
Who would be?
But
Okay, cool. I got one more. Right.
Sure.
So my next and one of the last questions is, what do we think is going to happen with the Seraphim? Do we think like Saturn's going to free them, or?
Yeah, well, there's going to be something going on. Saturn's going to free them, and they're going to have like another like spat with the Straw Hats, and then eventually Katarina Devon's going to take him away.
So you think Katarina Devon will take all the Seraphim and the Pacifista?
The Pacifista, I mean, they're not that important. She could do, could not do. It won't really matter. But the Seraphim are the real kind of game changers, so definitely them.
Okay. They would be able to fit them on the ship, just the Seraphim, if that makes sense.
I just thought of something with the Seraphim. It might be crazy, and it connects to Kuma. Do you think Kuma, with his fruit, if he affects the Seraphim, he can deactivate their authority ship? Because it's repulsion.
Well, I think this might be the point in what happened, right? Because we saw Lucci said to Esper, he said to the others, we're going to use Esper's flying power to get over to the island. Next thing we see, as we spoke about, the next thing we see is Kuma basically rushing off to this island, disappearing. So he's probably intercepted the signal to Esper somehow. And the only way that would probably land is through the authority chip, unless Kuma somehow heard the command from Lucci, which isn't impossible because Lucci was just at Marijua with him. So
or there's a psychic connection between the him and his Seraphim, because remember Kuma started like walking up, going to Egghead like immediately after Lucci said in the presence of Esper, like we're gonna kill Bonnie, and so he's coming to like protect his daughter.
Yeah, maybe that as well. Yeah.
I got a question. So do y'all remember when Luffy, Lucci, Zoro, Kaku, and Daft Punk were all in the stratosphere, and they were all watching the cameras, and then all of a sudden there was a shadowy figure that came up and smashed that camera? If we look at the silhouette that we just got from 1094 with St. J. Garcia Saturn, do you think it was him on the island and using magic teleportation to get past the laser grid sphere, or do you think it was another character, say Caribou or someone else who was on the camera?
It was probably just York. Like I think that's because York was the tracer, right?
Got it.
I mean, that is a good point, though. Actually, Saturn could just bypass the barrier, but at this point, like he doesn't need to.
He looks just like the Shadow, so yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be him, or it couldn't be him.
But then, wouldn't he like command the Seraphim then, so that they couldn't have any chance of like overriding it?
I mean, there's a possibility that it wasn't like his full self. Maybe it was a part of his ability or something like this, like the shadowy form that we saw in Marijua, maybe.
It was also a last-ditch effort, I think, to keep his presence hidden from being on Egghead, because if a Gorosei had given out an order, then no one else but a Gorosei could have turned it off, I think. But if a Vegapunk, say, the one they had under their thumb, like York had given it out, then, then they don't know that Gorosei is on the island, because everyone was shocked when the Gorosei showed up.
What if that wasn't...
It can't be him fully, because they would have sensed his presence.
That's why I think what if it was more astral projection? We saw it as he was physically there because that's how Oda draws it, but it could be like similar to Perona, because I'm pretty sure if you go back to Solo Bark, Perona would not look like half invisible. She would look, we know she's astral projection, but no one else was able to see her, but we saw her clearly. So it could be a similar thing. Because we saw it as a shadowy figure, so it's not like we saw him as all his color scheme, So it could be a projection of himself. Him looking what's happening inside it. It would explain how he seemed to be hearing Atlas's last order in the chapter before that about the Marines. He squinted his eyes. It could be a thing that he was actually already in there. Astral projection. It would make sense.
I mean, we saw this whole head explosion thing, and he did that like weird little eye bubble weird thing, right? So that might have been him briefly changing into that shadow form to like, and that's why he's like melting, like. But yeah, that it's all kind of ambiguous at the moment.
Yeah, do you think he actually has a shadow form, or was that just his real form being silhouetted until we got the reveal?
I think it's very similar to Big Mom's first reveal.
My big brain theory
Yeah,
is that there's
so
another devil fruit
silhouetted.
user who silhouettes, and they have the silhouette no me.
Which, if anyone, that's probably Emu, right?
Or his handmaiden. Don't forget that handmaiden.
Don't forget the nun.
Yeah, because
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the silhouette was stylistic for the whole yokai thing because of what we've seen with like the Cypher Pole cover, the sea beasts when they like go under the water that first time, and we see their silhouettes. So yeah,
I think it's just silhouetting, to be honest, because we're probably not going to see him as a shadow again now that we've got his full form.
It's basically what we got with Big Mom in Fishman Island. She was very silhouetted, but then when we saw her, her head wasn't as big as it was shown. Like they showed like a huge head of Big Mom, and then acid come out of her mouth. That was, and it was very dark. Then we see Big Mom, she looks more grandmother than that. Because the first time we saw her, it seemed like a demon, when you see Big Mom.
Yeah.
But then you see her as a big grandmother, more of a big grandmother. It does change a bit.
I wish she stuck with that design. The Fishman Island little, design. That was great.
It was sick. It was sick. I won't lie, the Kaido design is much better than the silhouette. Silhouette looked like a.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think Oda ever intended that to actually be what he looks like. It was just a placeholder kind of thing.
Yeah. He looked like, what was it? Yeah, someone said he looked like an eBay version of that silhouette of Kaido because of his face. No, honestly, it was really, for everything else, I think it was a great chapter, and I think it was a good way to kind of change the mood in One Piece by using Gorosei to do it.
Yeah, I think like obviously it's always hype for the whole community when the Gorosei appear, but this is just another level. Like we've never seen anything like this in One Piece. Like somebody summoning some pentagram or gobusei technically in Japanese, and then just appearing through it. And yeah, it's hype. Do we think that we're going to get 2 more chapters or 1 more chapter of the same stuff, or or are we going to get cut away for a bit?
So my like theory for what's going to happen like right next chapter, like the first thing, is that this could be the way that we get revealed that Saturn is immortal or has lived for 900 years or whatever by Bonnie trying to remove all of like the years of his life and him basically just enduring it because he has so many like years left to give that it doesn't like do anything, and he's able to like strike back in time, and she ends up removing like 500 years and it doesn't like kill him. I think that'd be sick.
So, if I'm not mistaken, guys, we learned about Celestial Dragon and Sabaody, right? So, I'm pretty sure we won't pivot away, but I think right now in the story, regardless of where we get to Saturn, we're going to understand how the Gorosei were made to create it. I think we might get their origin. We got the origin of the Celestial Dragon and Sabaody. It would make sense that we finally know what the Gorosei really are about, Because we still don't know.
This is the time. This is the time to do it.
Because we still don't know. Like I tell people, we don't know why Zoro wants to become number 1 swordsman. It's a dream before Kuina. He just upgraded the level of he wants to achieve it. We don't know why the Gorosei are doing what they're doing. We just know they're keeping, controlling the world, oppressing it. But we don't know what's the catalyst. What changed everything. So this could be the arc, the moment.
I mean, it is Egghead incident exactly 38 years after the God Valley incident, which was 38 years after the whole big Carmel incident with the Giants. So this could be a world-changing event, and it's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts, but.
And obviously, we talk about 30 years, but it's interesting because Luffy's 19 years old, so you could say that it can even be a pattern of every 19 years, and what's called so if it's every 19 years, then what happens around the age, around the 19 years after God Valley. So between the Big Mom thing and God Valley is the years where Akainu, Fujitora, Dragon, Kizaru, and Kuzan are born. It's not a coincidence. Those powerful people are all born around the same time, those years. So I think that could have been the event that, because we know every big event gives birth to those crazy people. They're always born after a big event or around that event. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
they might also be
like, if you look at the timelines, you'll see the surge of births every 12 years. There was a load of stuff that happened 12 years ago. And that's one of them. And
and I think that Luffy being 19 years old is very telling, considering 19 is 19 times 2 is 38. So I do think it's not excluded.
And like, finally, just to quickly wrap up before we shoot off, we'll just tease the yokai stuff because we'll Moog and I are going to put out a video, I think. And but what's your thoughts on the whole yokai situation? Are you thinking it's pretty one-to-one? Are you thinking that all the Gorosei are yokai? We've obviously found some other examples from Kaido to Dragon. Like Lucas found some brilliant ones. Straw Hat Lucas, check him out on TikTok. He's in the server. But yeah, do you guys think all the Gorosei are yokai?
Yeah, probably. I mean, like 4 out of the 6, including Emu, match up really well, including so Saturn, obviously, and then like 3 of the others. I mean, you sent me that thing, Hyde, which just still blowing my mind. Basically, like assigning a yokai to each of the Gorosei and Emu out, like based on their silhouettes, and yeah, like so Saturn, I forget their names, man, Venus Juro, and like Top Man. Actually, I think all of the Gorosei match up really well to like a yokai that exists. The only one that's debatable is Emu, and I mean, there's one that I think works really well, which is like basically just a nun, but it's kind of like a bit weird. Is Emu just turning into a giant nun then? Is that her fruit? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we've. Oh, go on, Coop. After you.
No, I was just gonna say. I'm just gonna reiterate what I said at the beginning. I think it's gonna be yokai because I think the demon aspect of the true demons, they're based off yokais, not demons, the devil and demons. I think Oda's just playing around the semantics. What is a devil? What is a demon? When the gods themselves are horrible people, they're demon themselves. I think the yokai are the true demons, and they're taken by the Gorosei. I would see it. Yeah, I think we're going to the yokai.
I agree. I think the list is going to extend beyond the Gorosei, as we spoke about earlier. We're going to have the god of destruction, which will be Big Mom. We'll have the Kaidomaru, which is Kaido. We'll have Dragon, who's the emperor who died when he was 17. His name is Monkey D. Dragon, so he got the Monkey Clan and the Dragon Clan, and he was 17 at the God Valley incident. So a lot of these monsters, they call them monsters, right? Like that, it's a word that we hear in One Piece to describe like people with absolute intense, massive, like ungodly strength, and that's probably going to be where the D ties in. I'm guessing that's my opinion anyway. Where the deal sort of cross. Say again.
No, I was making a joke because you said like monsters were the people with the best strength, and I was like Chopper.
Well, Chopper. Well, yeah. Like look at his fruit. He's got a Hito name. The fly-back mushroom, like that. If that isn't a forest god fruit, then it's hard to know what is. But
well, you talking about there being other yokai, that gave me an idea. Do you think any of the other? Do you think like some of the god knights have yokai fruits, like Garling and stuff like that? Yeah.
I don't think Garling has. But I do think some of them are going to be fucking monsters. Absolutely. I think Garling's relevant only because of the science, right? And this is why we get like Saturn as the first Gorosei to head out, because he's just like a technical guy. Like there's a way to beat that stuff. Like easier, I'd say, starting Pokemon.
Another thing, you know how all of like the top tier pirate crews, all of like their fruits generally have like a consistent theme. So like Kaido is the most obvious one. The Beast Pirates all have like ancient zoans or like mythical creature, ancient zoans, whatever. Like the Blackbeard Pirates all have fruits like taken from other people. The Shanks Pirates all don't have devil fruits. And then the like parallel could be that essentially Emu's pirate crew, the world government, all have yokai fruits. You know, all have demon kind of powers.
So actually,
Powers of the
with the
deep.
way the holy knights are, and you know, I said the reverie I said before, we're gonna get the Knights of the Round Table because of the reverie table. It's really drawn and written. They tell the same way as in Camelot. You know, then being British, you must have a lot about the King Arthur, Merlin and stuff. I do feel for the Holy Knights, we might go more into the fable than actually yokais. But it could be like, it could be yokai fables, but I think it'll be very connected to fables. Because the Holy Knights, those kind of stuff kind of makes me think of fables. Just the world government, the Gorsei, I think it's 100% yokais. They basically perverted it. But I think it could be fables, Like some mythical fable creatures, It could be still creatures, monsters, but I think it'll be connected to fables,
Yeah, interesting. One is obviously very significant and is sort of based around Japanese lore, and to go from that to giants and like Asterix and Obelisk, Western sort of media, and like this big tall tree, and that's Norse. That's not from the East. It's from the West. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we'll go from the yokai to fables. And maybe that's what the goodies will be versus the yokai. Maybe there'll be like some parallels there between the yokai and the giants of Elbath, or some of the big crazy figures, people like Loki.
Do you reckon Loki could be like a yokai? I know that's like the opposite of what you're saying, but I mean it kind of fits, right?
In the MCU and with the horns. And I was thinking, that's definitely yokai vibes, right? Like, but I mean, again, they could be the opposite. Because with Zorro, with the Buddhist stuff, we have the Azura. Like,
yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because I'm trying to find something, but I remember I read something about the Camelot. That's what I was going to bring it up. Is in one of the stories they say that Excalibur was forged with the flame of a dragon, on an indestructible stone. That's why Excalibur was known to be indestructible and magical, because a dragon is a magical being. So that's why that's where I think we're going to go more into it, But yeah, I just can't find it anymore. I have to find it. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have to look.
This reveal was so hyped though. Just like it feels like we're finally getting the stuff we've been wanting for a while. Like out of it feels like Oda, even like people say like praise like Egghead for having like great lore reveals and stuff, but I feel like he's been doing still a lot of teasing, a lot of teasing this arc. But this feels like stuff is really starting to finally pay off,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because we saw him say like just the word Nika, that's still mysterious. It still makes us ask questions, but now we're getting like some form of like juice to like work with at least.
And also it's like
it's crazy to say, right? We've seen a Gorosei. We've actually seen a Gorosei properly.
Yeah, we still don't know everything about him as well. Like we don't know the name of the fruit. We don't know if he's like immortal. We don't know what his deal is. We don't know what like if he is like one of the 20 kings. I know this is like going a bit far deep into the headcanon, but like what kingdom he was from, right?
Exactly.
That's another question.
Like people don't realize, like we have literal leakers who drop the spoilers who will tell you the kanji of, like that's how we got the headcanon of the heads up that maybe Hibari could be Akainu's daughter on the way they talk. People don't realize a One Piece, just by Saturn's personality, the way he talks, saying a certain word could even give us ideas on what island he's connected to, or where he was all those years ago, or what island like praises him. It could be a thing that maybe certain island, we're talking about certain thing of the past, and they see the Gorsei as gods, real gods, and we never realized they were talking about Saturn. Like Theme Z talked about the Marine Hunter. We found out about Mihawk's nickname, the Marine Hunter. It could be something like that.
Yeah. Like I mean, if you've spent like nearly 30 years writing and drawing this stuff every day, and then you get to draw the Gorosei, remember doing this, you're gonna crack down on them details for sure. I'm pretty confident in that. Like the angles we saw him in, for example.
Yeah.
Like we got a full round view.
Yeah, and also very good because I like the science stuff, but I like that in the science arc we get mystical thing is also natural. They are natural now appear on fruits. There's a natural component to it, and I like that they're mixing up science and everything that's mystical. It makes sense. Reconnecting everything in one go.
Yeah, I agree.
That was my
I agree.
that was my problem with the whole science stuff. I felt like it was becoming too sciencey, and there was something missing. You know what I mean? Spiritual.
But
Now
now,
we have
like, we're getting it. It's like,
yeah,
we're getting the
it now.
other half of it, like the spiritual
Yeah.
half, and like it'll connect and give us that full sum. And like it's that feeling of just like comfortableness. Like we're starting to feel like, right, this is going well, you know.
No, honestly.
With Wallow, we level you. You just level you until the end, but now we've got so much juice already, like so much spice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, anyway, do you boys want to plug your shit, all three of you, and then I'll sign off the channel.
Subscribe to Muglatan. Got a video coming out probably this weekend. I'm close to finishing it. And yeah, and there'll be many more to come.
Absolute heavy theorist. In England, apparently, we've got some good theorists. Coob, do you want to plug your stuff?
So you know me, Cuba the Red Sea, honorable member of TLA, like every member of TLA, the last arc. Join our Discord. We're very fun. Hop on the VC. We could talk. We can have fun. You know, you can help me and Cody show Lucas is wrong, the wrong way of seeing as Sabaudi as being a mid arc. You know, we're trying to change his ways, one stream at a time, one VC at a time. So yeah, and also check out Deden's channel. You know, he has crazy theories. Check out his videos. Appreciate it, guys.
Cody, do you want to plug your stuff?
Hi everyone, I'm SSJ Cody. I make crazy TikToks and I make crazy Twitch streams over at twitch.com/SSJ Cody. Tonight we are streaming. We are back with One Piece D&D, baby, because if any player cancels on me, I'm killing them off. I'm done waiting. So come see what that's all about at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern Time at twitch.tv/SSJ Cody. We're almost at 1,000 on TikTok, so I can go live on there too. Everything's just going super well, and thank you so much to the last arc and Den for having me on. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. I love having all of the theories and all of the fire stuff going around. I guess before I'm done plugging my stuff, I'll be the party pooper and say I'd be the only one disappointed if they're all yokai, because I've had enough of Zone Fruit since Wano. I want to see another Paramecia or another Logia even. I've had enough zones. We're done with zones. Zones are out.
I don't want
zones
them to
are last year. Zones are last 3 years.
I don't want them to be zones either. Yeah, I want them to be like at least mixtures.
Like if they can be yokai,
okay, well,
but
yeah,
someone
anyway.
else, yeah.
Thank you very much, Cody, for streaming for us. Thank you, boys, for joining us. Thank you, Josh, for being here earlier. Angel, even thank you for the brief feature. And if I have missed anyone, thank you. I'll drop all the links in the description, so anyone here that you see now, you'll be able to just click on that and it will go straight to their page. I'll also include all the links in the Discord, and they're always in there anyway. So just jump in there, join some D&D. You know, stroke some cats, be nice to people, and yeah, for the YouTube, it's Blumph God, right? Say bye.